3-7 never looked so good. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we love each and every day. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. That's at least our aim and our goal and mission every day. We got Ty Hudson on the line from Pig Trail Network to talk up Arkansas football. Ty, how you doing today?
Hey, how's it going, Mark? Thanks for bringing me on, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was great to track you down. You do some excellent work. I've watched it. I've seen it, I should say. Read it, and wanted to get you on here to break down Arkansas football. Despite the issues under Chad Morrison losing, 20 consecutive games in the SEC, I am amazed at the interest in this football team, even when they were down. I post a video on Arkansas football. People are watching it, even when they've lost a zillion games in a row. and when I led off this video by saying 3-7, this didn't feel like a 3-7 football team. Of course, there was the debacle at Auburn where the refs screwed it up. It was fun for a guy who has no vested interest in Arkansas football, but knows back from the Southwest Conference days leading into the SEC when Arkansas football was proud and certainly was a national power just 10 years ago. Under Bobby Petrino, and played some good football where Brett Bielema, it appeared as though he was going to bring it back at one point. He had it on a roll before things went south his last year and a half. I like to see Arkansas football competitive, and it was a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was who it was. It was another content creator who had stated, maybe it was RJ Young or someone, but they had said that SEC football is more entertaining and better to watch when Arkansas is actually good. And since joining the SEC in 92, it's been a roller coaster ride, as most SEC fans are aware of. And SEC fans are all diehard. They do, even though they hate each other, they all keep up with each other pretty hardcore. And even the most diehard LSU Tiger fan will tell you that, yeah, SEC football does seem to be better when the Razorbacks are better. Obviously, it's great to have teams like Alabama. Of course, you had LSU last year win the title. Florida and A&M were both threatening this year. But I guess I am biased, but I do agree. I think the SEC is more entertaining when you've got someone like who's kind of an oddball school in the SEC when you think about it, especially geography-wise, not that was any different in the Southwest Conference, being the only team not in the state of Texas. But, yeah, it's hopefully Sam Pittman gets us back on track, and it certainly looks like that could be the case.
Yeah, and I think people would be surprised if they look down through SEC history since the Hogs joined in 1992 that they've made 3 conference championship game appearances. I know that 1998 team, so I was down there covering the SEC, on the sidelines in the press box. I still cover the SEC, but from afar now. But for about 7 years at that point, when Houston Nutt, Danny Ford transitioning into Houston Nutt, how good Arkansas football was there for a few years under Houston Nutt. And then again, I reference the Petrino years. 2 back-to-back top 10 finishes, major bowl game appearances there. And it looked like Bielema was going to do something there for a few years. He'd lifted them from about a 3-win, and they went on that nice run, and they were improving by a game each year. I think they got to 8-5. And then what do you think happened there with Bielema?
Well, there's so many stories about this guy. I on paper, the hire was phenomenal. I mean, look at what he did at Wisconsin, right? With the Rose Bowls and everything and being competitive. And when you look at their recruiting rankings, they're not exactly blowing up the rankings. They're not blowing up on rivals and back when Scout was a thing and 247 and ESPN recruiting. And yet they're competitive every year. And so that in doing it with that, combined with what he achieved at Wisconsin, combined with the fact that Arkansas is, like I said, kind of an oddball school anyways, it was a great hire on paper. But I really don't know what happened there towards the end. A lot of people point to maybe the Sam Pittman departure, which we know he left to go to Georgia and be the offensive line coach there, that all of a sudden recruiting just kind of tanked. It seemed like, in my opinion, when you look at recruiting, I kind of thought it just felt like, okay, they're not as serious with trying to answer the needs trying to problem solve and doing that with recruiting those last couple of years, and it put Arkansas in a really tough jam. In fact, when Chad Morris was hired, the belief was, oh, well, now we're going to get to go back into Texas because Brett Bielema was a train wreck in the state of Texas, after some of the comments that he had made down there about needing a fullback and making some kind of sly comments towards the state. So, and Chad did do well, right? Chad turns it around, and all of a sudden you go 2-10, and somehow you have a unanimous top 25 recruiting class. Brett Bielema never really, I don't know. I feel like, to me, it was a recruiting problem, and a lot of other fans will tell you he just kind of gave up. And I have a hard time believing that, because he's, you're a coach at a major Power 5, in a big conference at a big school, and just to give up. I don't know what happened. I think it was more about just, I don't know. I think he burned his bridges in Texas, which is a pipeline for the University of Arkansas, and I think a lot of it went downhill since then.
And Ty, it's fascinating to me how a couple games can turn. Maybe this wasn't the core or root of the problem, but it was the surface evidence or results that he was having his best season. Then they go to Missouri and they blow a big lead. It looks like they're going to win their final game of the season, finish like 9-3. I think they were like 8-3. They lose to Missouri. They blow like a 17-point lead. Then they go to the Belk Bowl. They play Virginia Tech. They get a 24-0. They blow 2 games at the end of the season that they had huge leads in, and suddenly what could have been a really strong season turned into like this 7-6 kind of season. Then the next season, just they had been building every year to that point, and those 2 games just seemed to derail them.
It's like you said, it's amazing what just 2 games can do. Yeah, you don't play 16 games like you do in the NFL, right? And you've got to play off, and you have kind of like this thing you could do at the end of the year in the NFL where you can make up for some things that went wrong. But in college football, especially at the end of the year, like you said, you blow this lead against Mizzou, and now Mizzou has this 5-game win streak against Arkansas that's just mind-blowing. But you go back to that game, and the second half you blow it, and then like you said, the Belk Bowl, you blow another big lead, and that fans were already kind of upset about how that year had gone. And then the next season, now his seat is just, it's warm. It was hotter than we realized. And then of course they fire him, and it's just not ever really been, it's just not been the best years for Arkansas football since the firing of Brett Bielema. And again, I was for it. I was on my channel on the pig trail saying, look, something's got to change. They need to walk away from Brett. This looks like a dumpster fire. And then they make an even worse hire. And of course, I think that had more to do with what was going on with the athletic director hire. Hunter Yurchek did not hire Chad Morris. It was actually Cromer's Peoples. I can't ever pronounce her name right. She was the interim AD, and I think her and the board kind of were in on that. And it was just turned out not to. By the way, Clint Sterner, former Arkansas quarterback, you mentioned that 98 season. Of course, he was the quarterback then, was really behind the hire and was really pushing it. I always wondered, did he have some form of influence on the hiring of Chad Morris? Surely he did. But yeah, it's amazing what 2 games can do. And those 2 games are the reason why I think we're in the situation that we're in now. Well, not just those 2 games, but kind of how that year set up, and then following that year up with another just horrific underachievement for the Razorbacks.
Ty, this is not the reason why I had you on today. I am just a sucker for this kind of narrative, program changing events, history, that sort of thing. So once I went down that path, my apologies.
No, you're fine. I love it.